So we're going to be talking about Luis Campusano. Now, the reason we're talking about him is because Austin Nola was just injured. 2 broken fingers, I believe, is the injury in his left hand. So Luis Campusano has a chance to really emerge, and this is kind of his first steps into becoming a Major League Baseball catcher. So I'll start out with you, Isaac. What do you think about Luis Campusano? Do you think he can become a starting catcher? Do you think he will be the primary catcher with Austin Nola out?
Maybe to start, he might not be the primary catcher. I'd assume it might be Caratini just because he has more experience in the bigs. But Campusano has so much potential that we've all been waiting for because he's been a top prospect for a really long time. And, at one point we had Austin Hedges, who was a top prospect. We also had Francisco Mejia, who was a top prospect. And we saw neither of them pan out as catchers. So now we have Campusano, and now we're really hoping, like, okay, hopefully this is the one, kind of like a third time's a charm. And so he to me seems like he'll be a better hitter than Mejia. He might not have the defense that Hedges had, but we don't really need that. We have I think in today's MLB, a lineup-oriented team that can hit well from 1 to 9 is what's really going to be beneficial. So hopefully Campusano can give us that that hitting ability that we need out of our catcher, that Nola can provide as well. But with Nola out, hopefully we can turn to Campy and he can be the guy that we expect him to be.
And Chase, what are your thoughts on Luis Campusano and his outlook at that starting catcher position?
So the way I see it is they're probably going to let him sit for the first couple of games just to show him how can he run games and let him handle the pitching stuff and probably get some tips from him. And then try to get him a few games in, maybe some in a row, because I think that's where the Padres failed in developing Mejia, is that they would only let Mejia catch maybe like every 4th or 5th game and then use him as a bench bat. They never really let him get multiple at-bats in a row against MLB pitching. So if they let Campy do that, I think he can run away with the starting job.
And Ryan, what are your thoughts on it?
Well, I remember the first time I saw like a highlight video of Luis Campusano hitting, and I remember the first person he reminded me of, and I'm not saying he's going to be as good, obviously, but was Albert Pujols. And he's just got that swing. He's got that explosive power. He hits the ball really hard. He's really good at controlling the zone too, which is something that I don't think he gets a lot of credit for. More walks than strikeouts in that 2019 season where he won California League MVP, hit 325, 15 home runs. This guy's a ridiculous hitter. I think that season, honestly, he was a better hitter than Fernando Tatis Jr. was in any of his minor league seasons. And after watching this guy, I think he has the potential to be one of, if not the top offensive catcher in the game. He's just got ridiculous offensive potential that I don't think he gets enough credit for. And I think he's going to turn a lot of heads. He's got a huge opportunity here with Nola out maybe 1 to 2 months with a finger fracture. You never know how bad that's going to be, especially in his receiving hand. He's got a great mentor in Caratini. And I think the combination of Campusano's offensive potential, the fact that he should be ready to hit MLB pitching, and the fact that he's got one of the best game callers in Major League Baseball to kind of mentor him and help him work with a very talented pitching staff, I think by 2022 or the offseason going into next season, we're not going to be talking about the potential of Luis Campusano. I think we're going to be talking about which teams need a major league starting catcher outside of us so we can trade Austin Nola to them and have Luis Campusano start.
That definitely seems like what the Padres want to have happen. Because, I mean, we've seen it like these really good elite prospects. Those are the guys they want to build this team around. The Luis Campusanos, the CJ Abrams, the Fernando Tatises, those guys are who they want to build this team around. You brought up how good he was in 2019, and you said that he had a better hitting season than Tatis ever did in the minor leagues. And I don't think Tatis ever even hit 300 in the minor leagues. So putting up those numbers with those tools, I think it's extremely exciting for us because this guy is he's not even talked about like these other guys. And he did get in trouble and stuff, and maybe that kind of put him off to the side a little bit, but I mean, he's been balling out. I mean, he's a guy that is going to have a chance to be the starting catcher on a really good team, and he might just be a fantastic bat and hit in the bottom of the order still. And I think that's something that's really exciting to look forward to. Also, talking about the acquisition of Caratini, that's a massive now when we look at it. With Austin Nolan going down, like, we really would have been like in a bad spot if it was just Campo back there. But having Caratini to mentor him and kind of, in the early part of the season, I think that's huge. And I think we're gonna look back on the Yu Darvish trade and still call it the Yu Darvish trade. But the Caratini part of that trade is still a super big deal, and it was never really discussed when it happened. Oh, it's just this backup catcher, but he's someone that, for a guy like Luis Campusano, that can help him be a better game caller at the catcher position, and just really excel from the jump defensively. So I like it a lot. But anything else you guys want to add about Luis Campusano?
Well, not necessarily about Campusano, but you brought up Caratini at the end. And one thing people forget is 2019, he had an OPS of almost 800. It was, I think, 794. This is a switch hitting catcher that had a great offensive season, 2 years ago. I think on a solid portion of most MLB teams, he'd probably be the starting catcher.
Absolutely. I think on many teams he would. I think that's why that trade was so crazy, because it was like, oh, we're getting Yu Darvish for almost nothing, and like also we're getting this guy that's like maybe a starting caliber catcher. Like he'll at least catch two out of it like every 5 games. Like, it's still crazy to me. But Chase, Isaac, anything you guys want to add?
Being good.
All right, awesome. So thanks everyone for listening to this episode. If you're just listening to this segment, go back. We had a couple episodes earlier with Ryan, and then we also just had our top 30 prospect rankings, and those are dispersed into 3 separate videos. But if you're just listening for the first time, make sure to sub, make sure to like, subscribe, all that stuff. But thanks again, everyone, for listening, and we will talk to you soon. And we will have Padres content all season long.